Okay, Fresh. Let's go to another team that everyone loves to hate. Our number 13 team in our preseason poll, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Marcus Freeman, great hire as a head coach. Rough year. Started off the year 3-3. Had some just ridiculously bad losses last season. Everyone excused the loss to Ohio State in Columbus. But then you followed that up the following week with a loss to Marshall. But then 2 weeks later, you beat North Carolina. But then you lose to the Stanford Cardinal on October 15th last year. Start off the year 3-3, end the year 6-1, ended on high note for them. It's impressive because you take a look at what they did against South Carolina in the Gator Bowl, and you're just like, wow, like this is truly remarkable. And then even that 38-27 loss in Los Angeles to USC, that was a close game. It was a close game. And there were very few people that could stop USC last year. And Clemson tried to come into South Bend and you put the boots to them, which was glorious. One of the few times I was really pulling for Notre Dame right there. But this is a fascinating Notre Dame team because it's such a different team now. Sam Hartman transfers in, probably the best transfer quarterback in the portal. I think he's going to do great things at Notre Dame. You got a couple of kids coming in. You got a new, I mean, your running back is coming back, but you got a lot of new talent in that offense there. But they got to be better on defense. And one of the things, they lost one of their linebackers, coach James Laurinaitis, went back to Ohio State, the former Ohio State linebacker. He was a teammate of Marcus Freeman. That's why he was there. The whole defensive coordinator fiasco about hiring them. There's a lot of things to talk about. But as long as Marcus Freeman, again, he's not to the Sark level, but he's got to show that continuous improvement year after year.
Yeah, actually, going into the year, I know we have them at 13 as they're combined, but I actually have them ranked at 16 because I'm just not as high on Notre Dame. They had a lot of guys get drafted, a lot of guys leave. They didn't exactly have offensive explosion last year, so losing players, gaining players isn't really much of a shock. And you lose Tommy Rees, your offensive coordinator. You already mentioned the defensive staff issues. There's a lot of rumblings right now going on there in South Bend and trying to find consistency. And if this issue lingers any longer, then maybe it actually gives more credence to what Brian Kelly did and how he's able to bring it all together and have them play and be successful. If Marcus Freeman is now the guy and things are kind of looking a little all over the place. Um, yes, Hartman, the new quarterback, he basically knows the entire schedule that they're going to play because obviously Notre Dame plays 6 teams in the ACC, including they play Wake Forest. You should be well versed in playing those teams and understanding when those games approach. He already has a leg up on that game prep. But the stakes are also going to be up a little bit higher now as being the quarterback of Notre Dame and all the things that come with being the quarterback of Notre Dame as opposed to being the quarterback of Wake Forest. You did great at Wake Forest, but now the expectation of being at Notre Dame, the Golden Domers, that carries extra weight. And that's going to be a big deal. And it's going to be interesting to see how he is able to respond, perform offensively, and move this offense because we all really know it's very tight end centric, running back focused, ground and pound. It doesn't really, never historically shows you the flash of four receivers in the field, airing it out in an air raid, wide open style offense. That's what Hartman as a quarterback is used to. So how's that transition going to come in here and really take over and change the philosophy that they have had in the past and been successful with? You look at Freeman, his first year in there, those clunker, unexplicable losses to Stanford and Marshall. Um, it, it to me, it showed the team wasn't gelling. They weren't responding. They were a bunch of individuals on the field, and they weren't playing as a unit offensively and defensively. And he didn't have their focus and their control. Then you go out there and you beat North Carolina, you beat Clemson. It's like, all right, this guy has their focus. He finally got through to the players. Maybe there was rotational issues where guys who were backups were better and they weren't getting the nod until later. He's like, all right, we're going to clean house. You're moving it. We're redo the depth chart and get it focused. He had to make a late season switch, got the taken care of because they definitely played better down the stretch. I'm worried, though, that they might have another clunker of a start again this year. They don't come out focused. They don't come out gelled. not ready to play in every football game, not taking every opponent seriously. Because they didn't take South Carolina seriously in the first half, and they had to scramble in the second half to get back into football game in the last game of the year. Where's Notre Dame going to be? Because expectations never go away in South Bend. How's he going to be able to handle it? Because if there's another slip up, like you mentioned earlier, I'm not saying he's going to get fired, but you start the heater starts turning up pretty quickly. Also considering all the money and all the media deals out there for all the different schools, and people want Notre Dame in a conference and trying to find their future, you want that football team to be a viable product. You don't want it to become a way down. Yes, there's tons of media, there's tons of eyes around it, there's always going to be money around it. But if the team isn't winning and the program starts falling off, it has a little bit of credence to the point of, are they really worth the financial impact to come in here? Yeah, they're going to draw eyes to your product, but we want winners. So Notre Dame needs to continue to keep winning. They have a 3-game stretch of USC, Pitt, Clemson. That's going to make or break this entire season. If they can show up and win 2 of those 3, they're in great shape, and they're maybe even looking back at a potential New Year's 6 or even on that 9-10 win frame. That's going to be it. They do get Ohio State at home. Ohio State's going to be breaking in a new quarterback. Who knows that quarterback's going to be? We have not heard anything yet. Maybe that gives them a chance, early on in the season to, shock them. It's going to be the first true road test for that whoever that quarterback might be. How are they going to be able to get in there and make plays and maybe have something special for them? That defense last year, they played great against C.J. Stroud in that group, but offensively, they just couldn't score and wore down late. Maybe it'll have something special for them in South Bend. You never know. I think the floor for this team is 7-5, just because we don't know what we're going to get on offensive consistently, and we don't. There's so many holes in that defense right now to understand what we're going to get. But if they put it all together and this team comes through and they play physical, they play tough, they play like the Marcus Freeman defense we saw when they had Cincinnati and he was there, this team could really take some, make some major strides and really become back to what they were after the 1-year blip. I'm going to call last year a blip. They didn't look great. They can get to maybe 9-3, maybe 10-2. I'm thinking 9-3 is more of the ceiling of this football team. They're in great shape. If they get 10 wins, Marcus Freeman has Notre Dame back, and they're locked in going forward. But I think 9-3 is the ceiling for the football team.
Yeah, Fresh. It's going to start off with Sam Hartman. It has to start and stop with him. And when we look at what he did at Wake Forest, the last 2 years he's thrown 77 touchdowns there at Wake Forest. He had A.T. Perry over there, who's now in the NFL, good wide receiver, not a great wide receiver, but a really good wide receiver. But then you take a look at what he did through a 6-touchdown game against Clemson. That's a really good Clemson Tiger defense there. He threw 2 touchdowns and had 230 yards against Florida State. NC State, which probably had the best defense in them or Clemson and would have the best defense in the ACC. He did lose that game and threw 3 interceptions, but he still had 2 touchdowns against that. Sam Hartman is a very, very good quarterback. I don't think when he was at Wake Forest, he played behind an offensive line that had a left tackle like Joe Alt. That is probably a top 5 NFL draft pick. I see a lot of Joe Thomas in that kid. And then you also take a look at a kid. They have a stud over there in the secondary, Benjamin Morrison. 6 interceptions last season. He has that huge, huge game against Clemson. 7 tackles, winds up having an interception in that game. He has 2 interceptions in that game. Takes one of them back for a touchdown. Also had 3 interceptions against BC, an interception during the bowl game there. That kid is really going to start making a name for himself because he didn't start playing until November. And he's going to be a really, really good cornerback there in South Bend. I struggle with Notre Dame here. And I'm with you because I see none of us saw the Marshall or the Stanford loss last year. That Navy game is going to be tough because anytime anyone tries to play against the midshipmen in that triple option, like unless you routinely go against the triple option, it's not an easy offense to scheme against. That game in week 0 in Dublin is fascinating to me. I think Notre Dame will win that game. I think they'll have more talent. But again, the Ohio State game, it is in South Bend, but Ohio State definitely is going to have more talent than you do. Doesn't mean talent doesn't always win, but they're going to have more talent coming in, even with the new quarterback. The real games that I need to see, though, I'm with you. That 3-game stretch, USC, Pitt, and then going down to Clemson at the beginning of November. Those are the big games for me. I'm with you. I got this floor. I'll say the floor is 7-5. I'll say the floor is 7-5. But what if Sam Hartman really becomes another level? What if we talked all last year about Dylan Gabriel and moving from UCF to Oklahoma, and we thought, Dylan Gabriel had never had these type of resources around him, never had the type of recruits that go to Oklahoma. Wake Forest is not getting the type of recruits Notre Dame's going to get. They're not going to have the talent that's going to be there. Sam Hartman could take them to the next level. He really could. I see this as their ceiling. I'll say them as a 10-win football team with, I believe, the only two teams that are truly, truly better than them on their schedule is Ohio State and USC. I got them at 10 wins as a ceiling. But the floor, you're right. There's a lot of things to gel together. There's a lot of questions in South Bend. I got them at 7 wins for a floor.
If they beat Ohio State,
Watch
that will
out.
have serious reverberations for multiple teams. And we'll just put
Yeah.
it that way.
Yeah. Understatement of the year right there. That's going to send shockwaves through the
That
landscape.
that puts the playoff hopes in serious jeopardy for Ohio State right off the bat, because could be a loss that could glare on their record, and it could also vault Notre Dame.
Yeah. But then if Notre Dame uses that to run the table and Notre Dame sitting there at 12-0 or 11-0 later in the season, then again, looks great. So you're right though. I'm 100% agree with you on that one. You're right. That would be, watch out.